Our next speaker, before we break for coffee, is a lady that when I first met on LinkedIn, and then she shared her story. I thought, how can so much rubbish stuff happen to one person? And kind of rubbish is going nowhere near what Shona Hirons has been through in her life. It's quite a remarkable story. And again, I won't steal anything away from her story at all, but two incredible coincidences involving bicycles that were mind-blowing as well. And just an incredible story of someone who's been through hugely challenging times, has got very close to that edge herself, and has now come back to inspire and help other people. She's going to shoot me for not playing her walk-on music, by the way, because otherwise I have to come out of slides, press a thing, and it'll all go haywire. But if I can just ask you to welcome Shona Hirons to the stage now. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you, Steve. You make me sound like I'm something really special, and I'm just a normal person, kind of. Anyone ever seen the movie Final Destination? One person, two, right. Well, I'm going to be in the next one, I think, because that's kind of like my life journey so far. But, you know, it has got some humor in it, some sad bits. So obviously, like Steve said earlier on, if there's anything that's going to stir a bit of a nerve, then please feel free to leave the room. But it does end with hope. And that's what I kind of want to talk to you about today. So let me go back to my teens, I guess. I mean, I was brought up by my parents to have values that you were only successful if you were the best at everything. You know, if you had the most successful job, you got straight A's in your GCSEs, your A levels, you've got your, like Tanya said earlier on, the first in your degree. And then you went on and got the best job, had the best house, the best car. And I remember one of the things my dad saying to me, actually, when I was 17 and going for my driving test. And he reminded me as I was walking out of the door that morning and said, just remember, you cannot fail your driving test because no one in our family has ever failed their driving test before. And I remember when I did my test, I did pass it, and I thought, oh, thank God, you know, I've passed my driving test. But actually, did it really matter? And that pressure at that age, it had always been there. And during my teens, I swam for Wales. I swam for my country, and I did qualify for the Commonwealth Games, but couldn't go because I had a knee injury and had to have surgery. So my story is actually called Broken to Bionic, and it will become clear. So the first surgery I had was in my knee, and I've got some metal in my knee. And I remember my parents both saying when I couldn't go to the Commonwealth Games, oh, good, you can concentrate on your studies now. And that was really tough because my whole life was swimming. You know, from the age of 8 or 9, I was in the pool twice a day, 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening. And I was kind of the weird kid at school because all my friends at school would just go out with their friends after school, and I was going swimming. And I did some great things, don't get me wrong. You know, I traveled abroad, and, you know, I felt like I was doing something really good for myself. And then when that ended and came to an abrupt end, and, you know, I had to go and really focus on my education. I mean, I failed most of my GCSEs first time round, resat them in a year, got them all, and then went on and did my A levels in a year, got all them. And then it was kind of mapped out for me that I was going to have to study law or medicine because all my family were lawyers. And those are the two degrees that meant that you were going to be successful. So I went to university and studied law, and I struggled with it. I got a 2-2, which is classed as the drinker's degree, I believe. Not that I really went out much. And I worked my way up in my career in my 20s. In fact, when I was in my early 20s, when I was 22, I had a mini stroke. And for years, they were trying to find out what had caused that to happen. And after quite a long time, so not for another 10 years, we established it was due to me having a hole in my heart, which I was born with because I was born very prematurely. And then I had heart surgery at the age of 32, and I've now got a metal device in my heart as well. So that's the second bit of metal where the bionic woman comes from. And I was also told up to that point that I wouldn't be able to have children. So I'd kind of thrown myself into my career as a lawyer in my 20s and early 30s, just thinking, right, you know, this is it. I got married quite young, and that marriage didn't work out. And I was going to say the word unfortunately at the end then, but no, I'm not going to use that word. It was a good thing. And I'd moved from South Wales over to Bristol, which is where I live just outside of Bristol now, in a beautiful little place called Portishead. And then when I fell pregnant, I guess my priorities around work changed. I didn't want to be that mum who was never at the school gates and, you know, not having the normal chat with other mums. And I was, you know, I would work probably most days 9 till 6 o'clock, 9 till 7. And it wasn't until my daughter was a few years old and she was going to school, that I put in a request to work flexible working hours. And that was granted. And it meant that I could have a Wednesday off, because I wanted to have a one clear day where I always knew I was going to be there, and I could just carry on with things like housework for the rest of the Wednesday, meet up with a friend for a coffee, you know, and that was good until we got a change of management in the company where I worked. And that's when things really, really started to change for me. My new line manager, his values, again, I guess kind of quite similar to my dad's in a way, that I didn't get any special treatment because I was a woman and because I was a mum, and I still had to have the same targets as the full-timers. And I thrive on a bit of stress. I think most people thrive on a bit of stress, but it's when that stress gets to a point where it's up here all the time. And you know, I'd come into work on a Thursday morning after having the Wednesday off, and literally every single one of my files, it would be piled right up high. I'd come into about 80, 90 emails, similar number of pieces of post. We weren't allowed to do any work from home, so it was just all waiting for me. And I was expected to take on more work as well to reach my targets. And I found myself on Thursdays coming into work by 6:30 in the morning, and I had an hour to travel as well. So I hardly got to see my daughter. Well, I didn't. I just see her in the bedroom when she was still sleeping. And then I would literally come into work and, you know, fueled myself on coffee after coffee after coffee, and the vending machine with unhealthy snack bars. And even though I'd always been into my fitness and my health, all that just went out the window over quite a short period of time. And, you know, the only exercise I would get every day is walking up the 4 flights of steps to my desk, which at least I didn't get the lift, I guess. But, you know, that was my only exercise every day. And I could be reading a document and, you know, I'd read the same line 50 times and I would not be able to tell you what it said on that line. And that's kind of what my day was like every day. And I remember getting this horrible feeling one day of panic, and my breathing was going all over the place. And, you know, and really hard to try and explain this, but it was almost like, you know, when you're in a swimming pool and you can hear people speaking above, but it's all really, you know, faded. I felt like that. I felt like I could hear kind of voices, but they weren't really there, and I wasn't listening. Couldn't breathe properly. Was that a panic attack? I didn't know. But I didn't tell anyone, and I'd plow on and I'd crack on. I'd work until 10, 11 o'clock at night, most nights, get home. I'd be sick when I get home because I was so stressed, and I'd be crying. I'd be sick again in the morning. And I started shutting everybody out. I pushed my husband away, pushed my friends away. My family didn't get it at all. I used to have these, what I call attacks, where I would lose the feeling in my hands and my feet, and my hands would literally claw in on me like a claw shape. And it would start off like a really bad crushing feeling, which was very painful. And then it would just go completely numb. And sometimes I wouldn't get that feeling back in my hands for half an hour. Other days, at the worst, it was 3 days. And I'd have to just lie down. I just have to go to sleep. But there was no time to go to sleep. You know, I had to be a mum, I had to be a wife, I had to be the good lawyer, and I didn't know what to do. I was just really, really struggling. And I didn't talk to anyone about it because I just didn't understand it myself. And then in 2013, things were getting really bad, and I made a mistake at work. You know, how dare I make a mistake? I sent an email to the wrong person. And there was nothing confidential attached to this particular email. It was a client I'd been working with for about 9 months, and he wouldn't answer his phone from our work numbers because it came up as withheld. But he said, you know, if you send me an email, then I'll phone you straight away because I'll see it come through on my iPhone. So I did that, but I missed a digit out of the email address. And I got an email. I got an email back from the wrong Steve. Hi, if you're blonde, 25 and sexy as, I won't say the word, please feel free to respond. So at first I thought that was quite funny. And then I was like, oh no, I've breached data protection, and I worked for a really big corporate company, and thought I'd better let my line manager know because it's probably going to end up going through to IT and all that. And he said, okay, you know, thanks for being honest. And then the next day I come in to work after being there for 14 years, you know, and having been quite senior in the team, to a letter telling me not to turn the computer on, not to talk to anyone, not to touch anything. Literally frog marched out the building and told that I was being suspended for at least a week while they carried out an investigation. And it got, somebody external came in and carried out the investigation and decided that, you know, I hadn't been negligent, although I also got reported to my professional body, who then also carried out their own investigation. And it was so stressful because this was my career. I'd spent years, you know, building up to this. And, you know, I thought, what else could I do? I'm a failure. I'm useless. And I remember in my disciplinary hearing, my line manager saying to me, look, you know, you haven't lost your job yet, but we are going to give you a final written warning because, you know, you need to remember that we're not humans, we're robots, and we can't make mistakes. And I believed that for a long time. I mean, you know, technically I am partly robot. I haven't finished with the metal bits yet. But, you know, actually, no, I feel sorry for him now if that's his, if those are his values, if that's how he lives his life, because we do make mistakes, and it's how you learn from those mistakes that is really important. You know, and that pressure was really hard. And then from that day on, the panic attacks were daily. And I ended up collapsing one day. My whole left side of my body collapsed on me. I was blue lighted to hospital. My blood gases were checked. I hadn't had a heart attack. MRI scan, I hadn't had a stroke. Anyone ever had nerve conduction tests done in this room? Oh, you know what it's like. Torture, right? If you ever want to get any truth out of anyone, give them nerve conduction test. Oh my God, it was the most awful thing ever. They literally put these like electric things into your fingers with a big needle and then set it alight. And it's like, oh God. I had that done. And every time so many blood tests and other scans, all the test results would come back negative. You know, we've got good news, Mrs. Hirons. You know, you're fine. And I'm like, actually, I'm not fine. I know there's something wrong with me. And I went to my GP one day and just tried to explain how I was feeling, how these panic attacks were just daily, and I had no confidence. My self-esteem was on the floor. I was crying all the time. I wasn't seeing any friends. I'd lost my friends because there's only so many times that, you know, you can be asked to go out for a drink and then you turn them down and you say you've got a headache, which was probably true. And I felt really lonely. The GP, having only got 10 minutes with him, you know, this isn't the same for all GPs, I know. But he just looked at me and he said, well, you need antidepressants and, you know, you need to pull yourself together. And I left there and I sat in the car thinking, no one's taking me seriously. I'm being made to feel like I'm just a waste of time. I'm stupid. So I walked out with that job. I just left after 14 years and I knew I couldn't do it anymore. I had to start trying to find me again. Who was I? And the only way I was going to do that was leave. And it didn't matter that I was leaving a well-paid job to, you know, take a huge drop in salary. I started to find myself again. I started finding my love for fitness again. At the age of nearly 40, I trained as a spin instructor and personal trainer, and loved it. And that really helped with my confidence, getting back on that bike at the front of the studio on a stage. Funnily enough, I don't like the stage. Not this one's okay. Not when you're on a bike looking over the bars thinking, oh God, I'm going to fall on somebody in a minute. And that really helped. And then I did another job for a couple of years, local to where I lived. It was nice. I was home by 5 o'clock every night. But I still hadn't really worked out what had caused me to burn out, to kind of break down, really. I just had changed a few things in my lifestyle. And then towards the end of 2015, I got approached by another big corporate company back in Bristol where I'd worked. And they asked me to come and work for them because they'd heard stuff about my legal background, which, again, I was a bit like imposter syndrome going on. But I went to the interview, and every time I drove anywhere near the centre of Bristol, I would end up having one of these panic attacks, and my breathing would go. I'd be crying. I couldn't control it. And I thought, I've got to deal with this. And I drove into Bristol, mounted the curb, nearly knocked over 2 pedestrians. And I pulled over in the car and rang my husband and said, like, I can't go to the interview. I can't do it. And he said, look, you know, do what you need to do. If you can't do it, don't do it. And I was really early. I was about 45 minutes early for the interview. So somehow, I mean, I put some really good music on in the car. And that has always been my thing. Put on a really, really good song, sing your heart out. Not that I felt like singing that day, but it was some of the words in the songs which really, really helped. And I did go to the interview. And I think I wasn't worried whether I got the job or not by that point. And they did offer it to me. And I thought about it for a while and I decided, no, it's not right. It's not the right time. I can't, you know, I'm not ready for this yet. And do I want to go back into that high stressful type of environment? So I turned it down. And then about 3 months later, they approached me again and said, you know, we loved you at the interview. Will you please come and work for us? And I thought, you don't get this kind of opportunity twice. So I was honest with them and I'd explained what had happened when I worked in my previous role, and that if I was going to do anything like this, it'd have to be flexible working. And they were fine, you know, they were absolutely brilliant. So I took the job. And the first few months were great. I won Employee of the Quarter award, and I started to think, well, I am a good lawyer. I'm not a bad lawyer after all. And then things started to change again. We lost a couple of members of staff. And I was one of the only lawyers qualified in certain areas of law. So it was like, well, we're going to need you to stay on. Can you work a bit longer? And it was creeping back up to the sort of 14-hour days again, you know, 50, 60 hours a week. And I was tired and I was starting to get the panic attacks again and the tingling feelings in my feet, and my fingers were coming back again. And you know, my husband and I, we were arguing a lot, and it was just all of those signs coming back in, but I hadn't really spotted it. And my way of dealing with my stress of getting into the centre of Bristol was I would cycle to work every day. So I would either, if I had enough time, I'd cycle all the way from Portishead, which was about 12 miles, or I'd get my fold-up bike out of Brompton, and I'd put that in my car, go about halfway and cycle the rest of the way. And that was great for my mental health, because that bit of exercise in the morning, owning my morning, which was really important. I'd always been a nightmare in the mornings. That really helped. Apart from on one day in January 2017, And I hit a wet patch on the road and lost control of my bike, went over the handlebars, not seriously injured, thankfully. I did crack my helmet all the way through. So thankfully, you know, always wear a helmet on a bike. But I had a really awful hematoma to my leg, and I've not brought any pictures of that, but my whole leg was black. So I couldn't walk for about 2 or 3 weeks and had to take some time off. And I felt really, really guilty for being off. I'd only been with the company about 9 months. And then when I felt fine, I carried on teaching spin, but just one-legged because I'm a bit crazy. And I went back to work, and I remember looking out the window on the morning of the 21st of February, 2017. I thought, it's all right. I can cycle today. It's not wet. It'd been wet, but it wasn't raining, because I decided I wasn't going to cycle if it was raining again. So I got to the road where I'd had my previous accident. I actually remember checking my helmet because I got a new one. And I don't remember anything more apart from about half an hour later, waking up in an ambulance. And I remember thinking, first of all, what the hell have I done? I really hurt my finger. My finger on my right hand really hurt. And I could feel there was some blood on my face, but there wasn't a huge amount of pain. So I was in and out of consciousness, and apparently the paramedics were asking me questions like what my name was, and I gave them, my maiden name, and I couldn't remember my date of birth, but I could remember my daughter's, and little things like that. So I clearly had a head injury. And then when I got to hospital, I discovered that I'd had an accident in exactly the same place as I had a month earlier, 3 weeks earlier. I mean, who the hell does that? I mean, I didn't even admit about the first accident for ages, because I thought, how embarrassing is that? And when I had numerous scans in and out of consciousness in the hospital, and the consultant came out, and by this point, my husband had arrived, and the look on his face said it all. And I said, I want to have a mirror. And he was like, no. So I demanded a mirror, and I literally had a hole here above my eyebrow. My face, it wasn't me. I didn't look like me. And the consultant came out and said, we've got good news and bad news. The good news is you haven't broken your finger. But the bad news is that you've broken all of the bones around your orbital area. You've completely smashed your cheekbone. You've broken your jaw, and you've fractured the base of your skull. And we're going to have to wait for a lot of the swelling to go down and perform major facial reconstructive surgery on you. So this is where the other bit of metal comes in. The whole of my left side of my face has been rebuilt, has got metal titanium plates in. I'm actually 93. Like that one. I've had people in an audience before that look at me and go, oh, wow. Yeah, no, I'm not really. And that was really tough. So for the next 6 months, I was unable to do pretty much anything at all. I could hardly leave the house. I guess that was my version of lockdown, because, I couldn't even go for a walk to the end of the road without being sick, or, I had tubes sticking out my head. My daughter wasn't allowed to see me quite a lot because she was only 8 and it was too scary for her. And cutting a long story short, the next few months was really hard. I pushed my husband away even more. He met someone else, and, he left for a while. Good news is we are back together and everything's happier. We're better now than I think we ever have been. I taught myself how to play the guitar on YouTube because I couldn't do anything else, which was great. And I wouldn't have done that, had I not had my accident. But it was more about trying to go back to work. And when I tried to go back to work, there was something still not right. I was left deaf in my left ear for about a year after the accident, and I'd lost quite a bit of my sight in my left eye, and I had to have a lot more surgery over the next sort of 14 months or so. And I would start forgetting things. I'd be halfway through a conversation with a client and I'd forget what I was talking about, and I'd forget my way into work. And I didn't know if this was to do with my head injury or something else. And eventually my line manager said, look, this is a problem. We need to get to the bottom of this and you need to do better. And I didn't know how long it was going to take. And eventually I was diagnosed with episodic depression. as a result of the accident and the stress I was under at work. And my line manager called me into a room and said, you know, we're really concerned now about this additional diagnosis of mental health. So we're either going to put you on a performance improvement plan for a month, and if you're not better, then you'll have to have disciplinary action. Or you can go on an unpaid sabbatical until you're better, or you can leave. And, you know, I decided to get myself signed off for work-related stress just while I got myself together. But this was now a point in my life where I thought, God, there's only so many times you can, you know, hear the same record until you get bored. And I thought, it's like history repeating itself. Is it my fault? Is it me? I'd pushed my husband away. You know, I wasn't present much for my daughter anymore. I just felt like a complete failure. And I tried talking to my family as well, my parents, about leaving my legal career and maybe even losing this job. My dad's response was, you know, we've all had bad days in the office, but you don't just quit. And I thought, oh, God, you know, how am I going to live up to this? What am I going to do? And one night I took a whole packet of my tramadol tablets, which I was on for my pain, drank far too much alcohol, which I shouldn't have been drinking. And I just went and sat on a local beach near where I live, and all I can explain was I felt numb. I can't even remember feeling cold. The tide washed over me. I just knew that the world was a better place without me in it, that my daughter would be better off living with her dad, not me. You know, I had nothing. I had no money. I was having to rely on food banks just to eat. And I thought, you know, I was 45. How the hell could I have got to that age with, you know, and ending up like this? If it wasn't for the Coast Guard coming out and rescuing me that night, I wouldn't be stood here today. And it was the next morning that I had that epiphany moment and knew that I had to get up and not give up, because my daughter came and she emptied her money box in front of me, and there was £1.22 in it. And she said, "Mummy, I'd rather have my mummy than money." And I phoned my local Mind charity. And I remember speaking to the lady on the phone who just listened to me for the first time. For the first time, I was properly able to talk and let my everything out about everything that happened to me over a few years. And, you know, she told me to go on a journey of self-discovery. And I didn't know what that was at first, but my consultant had said to me, there's certain things you're never going to do again with your injuries. You'll never be able to, you know, compete in events. And we had a skiing trip booked for a few months later. And he said, you're not going to be able to fly because the altitude will kill you. So we got the train instead, and I dealt with the altitude of going up the ski lifts, with getting off at each level and waiting for the pressure to normalize. My next big challenge was then about a year and a half after my accidents, because I couldn't get back on a bike. So I had to do something to get myself back on a bike. So I just entered a half Ironman event and then did that, and I did 2 this year as well. And just that feeling when you accomplish something which you're told you're never going to do again is amazing. So now when someone tells me that, you know, I can't do something, I bloody well go and do it. And you know, we've heard this throughout today, that, you know, if you start believing in yourself, amazing things do start to happen. And I have quit my legal career. And my dad doesn't talk to me anymore. And to be quite frank, I don't care, because that's up to him. I'm proud of what I'm doing. And I know I'm building a really good role model situation for my daughter, who's now 13. And I run my own business. I now work with people, helping them to avoid and recover burnout, bring my programs through corporate companies. And I'm just me. I'm nothing special. I am just me. But I am kind of slightly bionic. And I just want to kind of leave you on these couple of slides, if they play. Hang on. You did say it was the one. What is it? Next?
Just the right arrow.
The right. I'm doing that one. Do I need to press it? I don't know. Don't ask me. I'm the world's worst person when it comes to technology. My husband will be watching this live now, and he'll just be laughing, because things always break. I've also got a book, but I didn't bring it. And my next one's nearly finished. I just can't afford to get it published yet. But it's all written. And it's called Broken to Bionic, by the way. Thank you. Right. Okay. So, as we've got here, falling down is an accident, staying down is a choice. You know what? You can either give up or you can get up. I lived in victim mode for so long, and not anymore. I am not a victim at all. That's me, by the way, doing a really crazy challenge, which was a bit like World's Strongest Man meets Ninja Warrior, about a year after my accident. I believe failure is success in disguise. I hate the word failure, but sometimes you've all got to go through those bad things to come out the other side and then succeed. It's not about having the huge paycheck, although something does help to pay the bills. Mindset. My business is called Mindset in Motion. Once I started working on my mindset and, accepting that I could make mistakes and that didn't make me a failure or a bad person, living in the moment, not worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow, next week, next month, the overwhelm that I used to suffer with, that's all gone. I focus my energy on the things I can control, not the things I can't control. And I would advise everyone to be in that, as we're going through this, these tough times over the last couple of years. Always be kind to yourself. Self-care isn't selfish. Actually, once you start putting yourself first, you're better for those other people around you. I always make sure I do something for me every day, even if it's just 5 minutes to turn the laptop off, dance and sing around the kitchen to my favorite song. Sometimes that's all I need. It doesn't have to be anything huge. And don't just sleep with your dreams. Go and wake up and chase them. I've got huge dreams now, and I am going to go and find them. I'm already getting there. I'm not the finished product yet, but I'm certainly getting a lot closer to it. Celebrate your wins. So that was 2 years ago. I'd actually just been diagnosed with cancer in that, and had major surgery to my stomach. I'm fine, by the way, now. I knew that wasn't going to get me. And that was me winning an Inspirational Achievement Award for everything that I've achieved over the last few years. And that was, I was sat next to Dame Kelly Holmes and Tammy Thompson in that, and that was amazing. And just remember, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to have bad days. It's okay to be less than perfect. It's okay to do what's best for you. And it's okay to be yourself. Give up the toxic people in your life. I don't watch the news hardly at all anymore. I surround myself with people that are positive influences in my life. Create a smile file. Love my smile files. Just get a little file on your computer or on your phone, fill it up with nice photos, nice quotes, anything like that. And when you're having a bad day, because we will all get them now and again, just go through it and remind yourself why it's good, and practice affirmations. Every morning, first thing I do is pick out an affirmation. If anyone wants a pack, by the way, I can send them to you. Okay, I designed and printed my own. I should have brought them today. I'm just, had to come a long way. And the final thing I want you to reflect on, as I leave it here, is that the past cannot be changed. Believe in yourself. Things do always get better with time, okay? And that is a big one. Smiles are contagious. Also try and laugh every day if you can as well. Be kind to yourself. You only fail if you quit. And when I wrote this, I saw a post that Steve had put on LinkedIn, actually. Ask yourself, is it okay to not be okay? And I think you did something similar, because I don't like that phrase necessarily. It's okay to not be okay. Maybe it is for one day, maybe it is for 2. But when it becomes 30 bad days, 100 bad days, 365 bad days, no, that's not okay. And that's when you need to get some help. And I wish I'd done that, and I didn't. And it took me 6 years to start picking myself back up. And I've got those coping skills now. We're all different. We all have different coping skills. Just talk. That is the biggest thing. And I'm going to leave you there. Thank you very much, everyone.
Hi everyone, my name's Jodie Hill and I am the founder of Thrive Law. I founded Thrive Law about 3.5 years ago after having my own mental breakdown, and I really wanted to create a place of work that was psychologically safe, not just for me, but for those people who I then recruited and the team that I then attracted. And Thrive itself, we're an employment law firm. We are the only law firm in the UK that's founded with mental health right at the top of the agenda. It's at the core of everything we do. So it doesn't matter whether you're getting legal advice, diversity and inclusion support, mental health first aid training, or HR support, whatever it is at Thrive, every single one of our team lives and breathes our values and puts well-being and mental health at the top of their agenda too. So last year, I was so lucky to meet Steve. We've co-founded with the Jordan Legacy, the 100 MHFA initiative. And what that basically does is encourage organisations to either sponsor or pay for someone to become a mental health first aider. We're well on the way with our mission. We've got a couple of months left in the new year. So we'd absolutely love for you guys to get involved. So please contact me or Steve, and we would be more than happy to send you the details to book onto it. So finally, have an amazing day, guys. I know that Steve and his team at the Jordan Legacy have put so much hard work and effort into this amazing conference. So please have a fantastic day, network, keep in touch with all of us that are sending the videos into, and catch up with you online. Bye.
Hi, everyone. It's Erik Darosa, co-host of the US-based podcast From Survivor to Thriver. We're so sorry to not be there in person for this special event, but we wanted to take this opportunity to share our message of love, acceptance, hope, and healing with you. Together with our community, we know we can shatter the stigma around mental health conversations and provide meaningful support to others as they move through their healing journeys. Now, I'll turn it over to my co-host, Marc.
Hello, everyone. It's Marc Fernades. We'd like to wish all the best to Steve and the Jordan Legacy team for today's Hope for Life conference, and also say thank you. They have done such wonderful work bringing people together and creating a powerful movement around the prevention of suicide. Collectively, by speaking up and speaking out, we have the power to change the narrative around mental illness. We have the power to shatter the stigmas, and we have the power to remind others that they are not alone in whatever struggles they may face. Erik?
Thanks, Marc. We invite you to listen to new episodes of our podcast every Tuesday on Apple, Spotify, Google, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. You can also join us on the Facebook page From Survivor to Thriver, our Instagram page @Brush Creek Thrivers, or email us directly at amgets.reverse@gmail.com. Have a great conference, and
We'll see you soon.
Hi, my name is Paul Higham, and I'm a director of Suicide Bereavement UK. We are based in Manchester, and we specialise in suicide bereavement research and the development and delivery of evidence-based suicide bereavement training. For example, PABS, blue light suicide bereavement training, and postvention training in the workplace. All our training is designed for professionals to increase their confidence and skills in caring for those bereaved or affected by suicide. And all our training is evidence-based, evaluated, and CPD accredited. We also hold an annual International Suicide Bereavement Conference in Manchester, and our 2022 conference will be our 11th consecutive year and will be held on September the 22nd, 2022. All the information is on our website at suicidebereavementuk.com. We would like to take this opportunity to thank Steve and his team at the Jordan Legacy for inviting us, and hope all goes well for their Hope for Life conference today. Thank you.
Congratulations to Steve and the team today for the incredible work they're doing with the Jordan Legacy. How many of you in the room today have bought an online course and not completed it? Yeah, I think there's probably a few of you around. Well, you're not alone. Do you know only 15% of people complete online courses? So why is it then that organizations are investing so much budget into tech well-being solutions and online courses that their employees are, not going to use? Let's face it, despite all of this investment, 50% of the workforce are feeling burnt out. So something's not working along the way. Well, we've decided to buck that trend. We've launched an innovative range of energizing well-being workshops in a box. We provide your employees with personalized well-being products that help them improve their working day. And it helps them to feel re-energized, re-engaged, and reconnected to their colleagues. And to boot, you get access to a wonderful well-being community of amazing human beings who are all invested in supporting each other's mental health and well-being on a day-to-day basis. So if you want to find out more about how our innovative idea is helping businesses to boost retention, boost employee well-being, and win that all-important war on talent, then contact me, Sharon at humanityworksconsultancy.com. And that just leaves me time to say we wish you all the best at today's Hope for Life conference. Thank you.
It was the day that shook the world, September 11, 2001, the date that will forever be known as 9/11.
No, we have several situations going on here. It's escalating big time.
I just wanted to wish you all well during this Hope for Life conference. My name's DiFrancesco. I'm known as the last survivor of the South Tower of the World Trade Center tragedy. Can't believe it's been 20 years. I personally have struggled with my mental health, as well as post-traumatic stress and a whole bunch of other things. But now I speak on gratitude, resiliency, and mental health. I think this conference is very important, especially in our days today, where things are challenging in our lives. I wish you all peace and happiness. I think it's great this conference is going on and it's going to send some positive messages. There's some very dark times in our world, and I've suffered those myself, but I've been able to see the brightness out of it after these 20 years. Some people may never get out of that darkness, and unfortunately Jordan was one of those. I hope that this brings some healing to people and helps them in their journey going forward. Wishing you all much success and peace, and hopefully we'll maybe meet in person one day. Good luck to you all, and thanks, Steve, for sharing this.
Hi all, I hope you're having a great day at the Jordan Legacy's Hope for Life conference. My name is Alice Hendy. I'm a partner of Steve and the team at the Jordan Legacy, and I've set up a charity called Ripple Suicide Prevention, and that's been set up in memory of my brother Josh, who I lost to suicide on the 25th of November 2020. Ripple is an online tool. It's free to download as a browser extension for schools, colleges, universities, and parents nationwide. All you've got to do is go onto the Google Chrome store or Microsoft Edge store and type in Ripple Tools, and it will come up for you. And the idea is that going forward, if you've got Ripple installed on your computer and you were to search for something relating to the topic of self-harm or suicide, that my tool would intercept that search and provide you with a message of hope that things will get better, and a selection of mental health resources that you can utilize in a range of different formats in a way that suits you. So please do download it. If any businesses are at the conference today, please get in touch with me. You can do so by visiting my website. It's www.ripplesuicideprevention.com. And I'd like to finish by taking the opportunity to wish Steve and the team huge luck for today. Thank you for everything you do, and have a great day. Thank you.
So for the second time today, if you're prepared, and ready, I'd like to welcome the guys back from the Growth House. So another big round of applause for them. Okay.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for enjoying part one. We loved it. So go over the rules again because you know what we're like. We're going to try and talk you stuff. So, do you remember the big strong man? Yeah. Right. So big strong man. Yeah. Good. So we're going to go over the same stuff. Before we go into part two, I'm just going to ask you a quick question, like Peter did, getting back to one. So my question is. Why is it that you think I forgot the question?
He's new. Kickstarter is the Boris King was doing it.
Right, that's it. Retake, reshoot, and action. Why is it that you think men in the north are more likely to complete suicide? As if I get wrong facts. Why is it that men in the north are more likely to complete suicide? Yeah. Big strong man.
Gadgets and geezers, argy-bargy, gadgets and geezers, argy-bargy, have a go, ayo, gappers in Halloween, shit-shite and khaki, another, he's been bothered and bothered, just choke as they can. Gadgets and geezers, argy-bargy, gadgets and geezers, argy-bargy, have a go, ayo, gappers in Halloween, shit-shite and khaki, another, he's been bothered and bothered, just choke as they can. Yes, mate. Yes, cock. No, mate.
How's it going?
What you having?
Don't mate. Aaron Dog. Man's clock.
Where's John?
He's dropping along. Rusty Scotland. What's the clock?
Oh, hands on, game's on, stop! Way! What?
I'm in the sense of what's the old striker. He's got no legs. I'm sure he's not a real fighter. He's got no skill. All he is a fighter. You know it. You can play a cat. Hey, after missus at home with the dishes.
No, she's out with girls, so I'm going off missing. I'll tell John get cooking out, missing, go home tomorrow, and he's spraying whiskey.
What about you? What's up with your face?
Mate, don't start. No, it's not my day. Got a written warning. Manager's more like a warden. Can't tell jokes no more. How did I know she's having a abortion?
Whoa, caution!
Bringing it down the common and crafts. It's not around town. Well, listen, what about you? When people come here to plan?
Mate, only joking. I've been caught saying grabbing some.
What?
Yay!
Right, who's round?
Not mine.
Not mine.
Come on, tight ass.
Yes, mine's a wife.
What?
What's wrong with mine?
Oh, he's got a new job. He thinks he's all kind of me.
Oh, too low for his eye and too posh for a pie.
No, don't worry. I'm only joking. A dog from Sluggy, right?
Hey!
I would rather have a dog than a wife.
I would rather have a dog than a wife. I would rather have a dog than rather have a dog rather have a dog than a wife. Hey! Reminds me of wallet, nearly lost it at the door.
Bounces your fridge, thinks he's 10 minutes more.
Mate, say the word, I'll smack him to the floor.
Hey, you get behind him, you make a table.
Shove him in the chest and close like a cable.
Who thinks he's on now? Thinks he's tired, thinks he's stable.
I'll show you how man I am. Shove it up your ass. I know you're able.
This guy here, right? This guy here.
I love you, mate. Not being gay, not quick.
I go to the ends, follow you to hell.
Alright, mate, calm down. Get your hands off me, Mel. No, me and you, man.
Us versus them. Got your back, mate. You're a diamond. You're a gem.
I love you, mate. Not gay, not pet.
We're blood brothers.
True.
Friends till the end.
What?
Oh,
what?
Fuck's sake.
What's he doing? He's a twat.
Get him off!
Hey, shut your fucking mouth.
Rubber glass is going off!
Go around here, you stupid pricky toss.
Susan flying, women crying, whoa!
That's what? Bounce is coming. Get off his head. Bounce is coming.
Fucking dead!
Bounce is get off his neck. Come on, last one.
Oh, fucking wreck.
Big stroke, hey!
You know what, I'm going to use it. I love coming up here and using this. It's very novel for me. Right, so next up, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Next up, we have a bit of a monologue for you, a bit more traditional theatrical element from us. Now, we've collected lots of different stories from different men of different ages,
and backgrounds in Newcastle, in Manchester, and in Doncaster, so where we're all from, and put these together in a part of the show which will eventually be set in a men's mental health group. So without further ado, I'll leave you to Christopher Finnegan to present one of these stories. Big, strong man!
All right, then. So I'm sat at the top of the stairs, and my mum and my dad are having an argument at the front door. And my dad's got his finger, it's like loaded at her face, foot in between the door so she can't close it, screaming. And it got really, really loud, got really big. And the thing is about my dad is, you wouldn't think by looking at him, but he is hard. I've seen pictures of him when he was my age. 6-pack, big, stocky shoulders on him. He also had a ginger afro and glanded glasses, but that's besides the point, isn't it? Anyway, the argument between my mum and my dad starts peaking. And out comes Larry, who's my mum's boyfriend. And he says, you can't be saying none of this. Shut you up, before he even finished his sentence. My dad's right fist just clocked with the right side of his face. His smarmy, chubby face rippling from the almighty smack my dad just gave him. First time I ever saw anyone get knocked out. I was only about 9 or 10. And I'm not a violent person. I'm really not. There's a big part of me then, though, that I just wanted to see my dad fucking ruin him. I fucking hated him, man. I used to hear them having sex through 3 walls, you know. Do you know how hard that is when you're just starting out? Like having a wank and that. And you can hear your parents at it. Actually, the first time I ever met him, I remember Mum took us to McDonald's. She knew we'd be happy there. It was on a Saturday after work. And there he was. This tall, lanky fellow, big smile on him, leather jacket. And there he was, cuddling up to my mum. My mum. Anyway, my dad pushes him back onto the stairs, and his elbow just came right down on him, like crushed his face into the steps. And I can still remember my mum screaming. Not for me, not for my brother, not for my dad, but for him. This guy that took my mum away from me, from my brother, from my dad, just stole our life. And I can still hear it to this day. And I don't blame my mum. But yeah, it'll always stay with me. Anyway, my mum drags dad off him and chucks him out the door, and I'll always remember my dad shouting mine and my brother's name from the front door. Anyway, my mum calls the police and he gets hauled off in a van. And it wasn't the last time I saw that, actually. I mean, I'm sorry for being emotional, but it's true what you say. When you talk about it, it does make it a bit better. Thanks for listening, mate.
Big, strong man. He's okay. He's okay. I'll be in the drama school. Where's my brother Dad?
And now for something completely different. This is real. I'm not acting right now. This is a genuine story about me. So when I was growing up, my three main male role models, the men that I built my masculinity around, the three most influential men in my life, three of them, my dad, my Uncle Neil, and my Uncle Pete, who wasn't really my uncle, but you know, that like family friend who's like, you know, we've all got them, haven't we? Yeah. So my dad, my Uncle Neil, my Uncle Pete. And I just remember like when I was a kid, like when adults are like superheroes, and like these guys, I was in awe of them. I was in complete awe of all three of them. And I knew I want to be as good a storyteller as my dad. If you ask him, it's the reason I act and I'm in theatre now. I wanted to be as funny as my Uncle Neil, the quickest wit in the world. I wanted to be as reliable and as responsible and as trustworthy as my Uncle Pete. These three guys are very much the quintessential Yorkshireman stereotype. Big beer belly, lots of deep voices talking like this. But there's one thing that always surprised me when I was a kid. It still surprises me to this day. It's one thing that you do not mess with in my family. One line. It doesn't matter if you are a stranger or a family friend. You never cross this line. Karaoke. Seriously, karaoke in my family is sacred, okay? Every wedding, every birthday, every funeral, however uncomfortable. I've heard my dad sing Boyzones No Matter What more times than he says he loves me. That is a joke, but kind of true. It boggles the mind. And at the same time, it kind of makes sense. Like, you can see the most macho blokes in the pub. You'll see the most macho men. And they'll walk in, they'll be like, oh, yeah, I get us a pint. Yeah, nice one. The second the Macarena comes on, they're up there. They're like, yes, Macarena. And I think it's the same with karaoke. I think karaoke is one of those things that it defies those like traditional masculine stereotypes, but that's why it's kind of beautiful in a really special way. Levi, what's your go-to karaoke song? Yeah. I've been around the moon before you made, excuse me. Very nice. Chris, what are you, mate? Oh! Yeah. Pete, same question. Go-to karaoke song. Ah. Na 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 na. Anyone else? Genuine question out to anyone. Spice Girls. Which Spice Girls song? Huh? Wannabe. We had a debate the other day of which karaoke song's better, Wannabe or Spice Up Your Life. And we seem to be in agreement it's Spice Up Your Life. So it's okay. Everyone's wrong about something. So, you know, I appreciate you saying, no, I'm kidding. That's a great tune. Anyone else? Go to karaoke song. Oh, don't speak, boom. No, it's that drum. It's that don't speak, boom. That's the tune. Anyone else? Go to karaoke song. This is Summer of '69. Oh, I had my first kiss on a boat to that song. True story. On a boat. No, first kiss on a boat. I made it a regular occurrence. What can I say? To warrant being memorable. My dad's go-to karaoke songs usually involve George Michael. He's a massive George Michael fan. When we do Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me, I'm Elton John. As a tribute to these men, as a tribute to karaoke, I'm going to sing a karaoke song that is not in my range. But I'm doing it as a tribute to them and a tribute to... I want to reference what Paul said earlier, something I forgot to mention that we usually say in our shows. We put an empty chair on the stage sometimes for the people that, as you said, can't be here. So I'm going to sing this for those guys, the guys that can't walk through that door, or the guys that don't feel like they're welcome in these kind of spaces, or the guys that unfortunately cannot take the chair ever again. If you know the words, sing along. No matter how hard I try, you keep pushing me aside and I can't break through. There's no talking to you. I'm so sad that you're leaving. Takes time to believe in. But after all is said and done, you're gonna be the lonely one. Oh, do you believe in life after love? I can feel something inside me say, I really don't think you're strong enough, no. What am I supposed to do? And sit around and wait for you? Well, I can't do that. There's no turning back. I need time to move on. I need your love to feel strong. 'Cause I've had time to think it through. And maybe I'm too good for you. Oh, do you believe in life after best bit? I can feel something inside me say, I really don't think you're strong enough, no. Yes! I can feel something inside me say, I really don't think you're strong enough, no. Well, I'm moving all year through this. Well, I know that I am strong. I don't need you anymore. No, I don't need you anymore. No, I don't need you anymore. No, I don't need you anymore. Go! Do you believe in life after love? I can feel something inside me say, I really don't think you're strong enough now. Do you believe in life after love? I can feel something inside me say, I really don't think you're strong enough now. Do you believe in life after love? I can feel something inside me say, I really don't think you're strong enough now. Do you believe in life after love? I can feel something inside me say, I really don't think you're strong enough now.
Ladies and gentlemen, those in between and beyond, thank you for being so attentive, being so open and friendly with us today. Let's say major thank you to all the speakers that have spoken today. Incredibly inspirational for the project that we've been running. And huge thanks to Steve Phillips, to Hope for Life as well, for giving us this opportunity. Yeah, round of applause. So what you've seen today are little segments of within AMP, project, big strong man performance. You've seen segments of that performance. Still a work in progress. We will have this staged and ready and available for public consumption in 2022. Cast Theatre in Doncaster. We have been working very hard for 3 years, so looking into ourselves, speaking to men in the communities that we feel are most disassociated in society, most affected by depression, most susceptible to suicide. It's been a lot for us to find. It's been an amazing journey so far. We've taken extra steps forward. So if anybody's got £8 grand, back of a settee, you know, under a drawer, you know, in Panama, you know, wherever you've got £8 grand. Yeah, that'd be great. So again, thank you very much. we put our hands down. We'll have auditions in January. We are also going to be having, amongst some of the other activities we're doing, is having post-show discussions with healthcare professionals, with people from mental health organisations. So if anybody is interested in that, would be interested in engaging with our work or our project, or you see skills that we can provide for any of your projects, please come talk to us. We have business cards that we got 2 weeks ago. We're very proud of. He's very proud. Oh, you're toxic. So guys, we're going to leave you on one last thing. The show isn't all chaos and all madness. But there's a very beautiful song that we last shared just to finish off. So thank you for your attention. One last time.
Big, strong man! Hey! It sounds so nice to hear about that. It does, doesn't it? Yeah. They're very good at talking.
Oh, the summertime has come, and the trees are sweetly blooming. The wild mountain thyme grows around the purple heather. Will you go, let's see, go? And we'll all go together to pick wild mountain thyme all around the purple heather. Will you go, let's see, go? I will build my love a tower by yon pure and crystal fountain, and on it I will lay all the flowers of the mountain. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pick wild mountain thyme all around the purple heather. Will you go, lassie, go? And my true love, they won't come, then I'll surely find another to pick wild mountain thyme all around the purple heather. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pick wild